There you go. Yes.
Going back into the 19th century with this.
So yes, and you have a play, Emmett Till and Anne Frank, and we're going to talk about that. And I'm just so glad that you're joining us. And this is Instagram Live at its finest today. So I want to talk to Secretary Cohen really fast, and then we're going to get to you. But at this moment, we're dealing with this book.
Oh wow! Yes.
Yeah, Rage. And while we're dealing with the book Rage, there's a lot of inflammatory talk from the president in this book. And we need to know, one, there is a piece, and I want to read it to you. There's a piece in this book where the president talks about Barack Obama. And then we're going to talk to Secretary Cohen about the military. So it says, Bob Woodward asked the president, there is anger out there in this country. I said, and the question is, you're sitting here in the Oval Office. Why? Why all that anger? Okay, the president said, I think it's for a number of reasons. But before I agree to even answer that question, okay, I have to say this. There are also many Democrats that silently will vote for me. And it happened last time. The Obama Democrats that came out. I was going to say Barack Hussein, but I figured I wouldn't say that today because I want to keep this very nice. The Obama Democrats who came out and they voted for me. And it was a tremendous percentage. And the Bernie Sanders Democrats, they voted for me. Exit polls showed about 9% of those who identified as Democrats voted for Trump in 2016, and about 7% of those who identified as Republicans voted for Clinton. I raised former President Obama and said that many thought he was smart. I don't know. I don't think Obama's smart, Trump said. See, I think he's highly overrated. And I don't think he's a great speaker. Oh, look, I went to the best schools. I did great. I had an uncle who was a professor at MIT for 40 years, one of the most respected in the history of the school. For 40 years, my father's brother, and my father was smarter than he is. It's good stock. You know, they talk about the elite, really the elite. They have nice houses. No, I have much better than them. I have better everything than them, including education.
Was that from Bob Woodward's book quoting the president?
Talking about Barack Obama.
You're talking about somebody in kindergarten. My daddy's better than your daddy. Who is this?
Who is this? Who is this?
I think, you know what? We have had all kinds of presidents. We have had racist presidents in this country, some of whom have owned slaves. We even had a president that allowed a disease to spread when he sent the native people on the Trail of Tears out west. I don't think we've ever had a president to be so despicable, to speak about our military, our fallen heroes, the way he did, and refuse to go and play honor to them. He is to call them suckers and losers. When Bill was Secretary of Defense, those 4 years he was at the Pentagon, we got to know those heroes. We got to know their families. We met many of them when they came home from war in their flag-draped coffins. We had been with the Blassie family, whose son was in the tomb of the unknown, and thanks to the technology, Mrs. Blassie got to know that was her son in that tomb. We know the Jones family, who was missing in action, and we found out he was killed in action. Bill knew John McCain. Bill was his best man, one of his pallbearers with Joe Biden. We know our military. I don't know this man who's in the Oval Office, unless he's the devil.
Secretary Cohen, former Defense Secretary William Cohen, Republican. Secretary Cohen, what say you? This is a lot, and your wife hit the nail squarely on the head. This is a lot.
Well, we know all about him. All you have to do is listen to the people who know him best. His niece, his sister, Michael Cohen, who was his hit man or fix-it man for all of those years. So we know who he is. And deep down, he's really very shallow. And he doesn't have any curiosity. He doesn't have any strategic views. Everything is a deal. Everything involves money and transactions. So when he says that Barack Obama is overrated, he says that about everyone. He said it about Secretary of Defense Mattis. He's saying it about General Kelly. He's saying it about everyone that he wants to put down. They're overrated. But remember, he's never allowed his academic records to be released. He has suppressed them because he doesn't want to match them up against Barack Obama. You don't get to be the editor-in-chief of the
Harvard Law Review.
Yeah.
And you don't get to be president of this country as an African American if you're not smart. It's not all luck. It's not all voting. After all, he went to Harvard. He's a smart man. And he's a kind man. And you can't say that about this one.
Well, I love your honesty.
We all spend so much time talking about this man. And it galls me to see that we have to be fair and balanced and give equal time. Before I came to do your show, I was watching him out, I think it was in California, the Latino people, there's Latinos for Trump. Along with the African American community, the Latinos are as vulnerable to this virus as anybody. And they're packed in there, not wearing masks. Now, maybe that's his plan, but the Latino people should have a better plan than to allow their people to be vulnerable to this virus.
But the thing what he's vilified immigrants, and this is what I'm like, I don't understand it. The
Latino community is not monolithic any more than we are. And that part of the country out west, they're mostly from Mexico, Central America, South America. In Florida, Cuba, and the Puerto Ricans, of course, are American. So, I don't know who's in that room, but I hope whatever they get in that room, they don't give it to the rest of us. Because our people are vulnerable, and you live with one of our people, so you're vulnerable.
Yeah. So, Secretary Cohen, you're a Republican. Is this your party? Is this your party anymore?
This is not the party that I have grown up with. This is not John McCain's party. It is not Bob Dole's or Howard Baker or Warren Rudman or Al Simpson or any of the Republicans that I served with. This party no longer really is a conservative party. It no longer believes in balanced budgets. It doesn't believe in strong alliances building upon our security. It is really based upon one person. So it's it is a cult personality where whatever he says, they will follow. However wrong or right, mostly wrong in terms of what he's asking them to do. He's using the power of the presidency to politicize all of the institutions which really protect us. For example, the intelligence community. We depend upon having a good and accurate intelligence so that you can decide what you're going to do in terms of the threats that are facing us. And if the intelligence community is being pressured to take out really important information involving the Russians, that makes us more vulnerable. That really undercuts our national security. But he has such an arrangement with Putin, so now all the information that goes to the president in his daily brief, when he reads it, if he reads it, has no mention of President Putin. And the question is, of course, why? Why is the president politicizing the Intelligence Committee? Why is he politicizing the military? Why is he asking the military to take action in Washington to create a path so he can go have a photo with a Bible in his hand? So he is trying to politicize the military, saying, it's my military, it's my generals, it's my intelligence community, and most important, perhaps, is my Justice Department. I now am politicizing the Justice Department in ways that I don't think I've ever seen during my lifetime.
All of this is a national security issue. All of this is you know, people talk about an autocrat. Is this more dictatorship in your mind? I mean, you understand foreign governments. You understand how dictators rule. You know, in the Defense Department, you guys were watching many dictators, correct?
Watch them all.
Yeah. What is this president to you, in your opinion?
Well, it's clear. It's clear that he has a love affair going with Kim Jong-un. So have you hugged a dictator today? He basically has embraced President Putin. In virtually every dictator or autocrat in the world, he finds himself on better terms than he does with Democrats or the presidents and prime ministers of democracies. So he punishes the people who are critical, and he basically rewards those who are supplicants. So he can interfere in the judicial system by granting pardons or dangling pardons when someone is under the prosecutorial system. And so he's basically abusing his power. He's interfering with justice.
The American people and the Republicans are allowing him to do that. We have something called the Constitution, and nobody is enforcing it. There are no noble men and women who will enforce it. And while we're talking about Trump, I want to talk about the American people. To talk about their patriotism when a black man kneels to a song for social justice, and they allow a white man in Russia to vote when we're gerrymandered and suppressing our vote and taking our mailboxes. So I want to ask the American people, where is your patriotism?
So Janet Langhart Cohen, do you think this is about the American public having to stand up? People are standing up, but they're still there's no checks and balances anymore in the Republican Party against their own president.
It's fear. It's fear and complicity. They don't dare speak out against him for fear that he unleashes all of his core supporters, who then engage in the kind of intimidation and threats that puts them on their heels politically, to be sure, and possibly physically. I mean, when Dr. Fauci have guards, people protected him and his family.
Dr. Fauci needs guards. Reporters need security guards.
Hey, but what was it like to be in that small little press room with him? What did he make eye contact with you while he was insulting you, or what?
So is this my interview or your interview? So, okay, so I'm going to answer your question. Early on, I was an anomaly to him. He kind of, now he cuts his eyes at me. Well, I haven't even been back since March because of COVID. He'll cut his eye at me and give me a sneer. And then he'll alternately play around, pick everyone in the room, and then he'll go to me. But he's not a nice person to me.
What do you think his thing is about black women? What? I know he has a thing with black men, but what is it with us?
How dare we ask questions of him? We are not at his level.
Well, that's for sure. I hope I'm not at his level.
That's right. That's right. The great Janet Langhart Cohen. So Secretary Cohen, your wife alluded to this earlier. Well, she didn't allude. She directly talked about Trump calling military personnel who died overseas. He used the P word again. We're not going to say it because this is good company. We got our good china out tonight and our good linens. He said that he called them losers and suckers. You were over the U.S. military who fights for our freedom, who puts their lives on the line for us. And he's the commander-in-chief who is in charge of this group. What does it do to the morale of the military? And what does it do for you, understanding his limited capability when it comes to the military?
Well, basically, those who are in the military look up to the President of the United States, whoever it is. They basically have been trained to follow the chain of command and look with respect to the commander-in-chief. when the commander-in-chief starts to demean and degrade what they are doing and what they have done, then obviously they have it has an impact upon their morale. But equally important, when he starts to degrade and demean the top commanders in the military, then he really is affecting the morale, the good order and discipline, the fact that the commander-in-chief no longer has confidence in his top military advisors. So what does that mean for us? Do we take their commands and take them seriously, or do we listen to the President of the United States, who is out demeaning them? So I think it undermines the military men and women. It also has an impact upon recruitment. Because if I'm a mother and father of a young man or woman who wants to go in the military, and the president says you're a bunch of suckers or losers because you can't cut it in the private world, but you can't make it in the private world, so what do? You go into the military because that's where losers go. You may recall when he talked about Chairman Dunford, he was surprised that Dunford was so smart. And he said, basically, what's he doing in the military instead of being chairman of the Joint Chiefs? Again, another insult, another attempt to show that he knows more than the generals and that they are in over their head. They're overwhelmed, as he accused General Kelly of saying, well, he kind of petered out in the last few days or months. He was basically couldn't contend with the political whirlwind that's inside the White House. And I would say you're right, because General Kelly and General Mattis are used to dealing with order and discipline and following logic, taking the reality into account and rather than bragging braggadocio. So I think military men and women have difficulty dealing with someone who is so impetuous. He is moody, mercurial, and basically unpredictable, or only answers to the last person who talked to him. So as a result of that, I think he's causing great confusion in the military, and he's getting ready to fire Esper, Defense Secretary, and also the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs. He won't do it in all likelihood before the election, but if he's reelected, they will be the first to go, because they have come out and questioned the merits of having been used to walk with him through the Lafayette Square into next to the church. They came out and apologized for it. And that set them off. That set the president off saying, they're not my generals.
Peaceful protesters were tear gassed and tanked. Peaceful protesters were tear gassed and tanked for a photo op of this president holding the Bible upside down. Do you believe at this point, with the high turnover, with the lack of national security stability, the fact that I don't even know if he's even getting his bullet points like he's supposed to, do you believe that this country is safe in the hands of Donald Trump at this moment if there is indeed some kind of foreign attack? You are the former head of the Department of Defense. You understand the national security issues. You understand the gravity of what the military looks like, what it's supposed to do, what the commanders are supposed to do, protect and serve. Do you believe this president is capable to handle anything at this moment?
April, it's the reason in 2016 that I came out and announced that under no circumstances could I vote for him. I was prepared to vote for many other Republican candidates, but I saw what he was doing during the campaign. I saw what he said about John McCain, who suffered those 5.5 years. I saw how he mocked a Gold Star family, and I saw how he mocked a reporter who had a disability. And I thought, if he is willing to do that, then he really is unfit to be the president who brings us together. So I've never felt he's been fit to serve, and I don't feel he is now, and I've said so on multiple occasions.
So what bothers me is, and I don't know if I'm alone, but I feel like I'm alone. My father was in the military. My late father was in the Army. I've had respect for the military. For the president of the United States, who is not served because of bone spurs, and to talk about the war dead and a war hero like John McCain, who was broken and bruised and bloodied for our freedoms. John McCain, I always wanted to interview John McCain. He was a prickly pear, but I respected him for what he did for this nation. And to see the military brass not say anything, and to see veterans not get upset, I am in shock.
Right. No, it really is shocking. When they first really said degrading things about John McCain, he's not a hero. I don't like losers. He got shot down. He got captured. Those are not my kind of people. I was surprised that the veterans didn't respond to that in overwhelming fashion. Say, wait a minute. If you say that about John McCain, what would you say about anybody else? You're okay as long as you don't get captured. You're okay if you don't come back with your legs amputated because we don't want to see you. I mean, think about Max Cleland. Think about Tammy. Yeah, I mean, so many of the people who have left limbs on the battlefield, as well as their souls. Anyway, I think we're talking too much about him.
Well, no, but it's important. It is important to talk about him because you both have been in this lofty perch, and you understand. You help explain it to us what's at stake in these 50-odd days before the election.
I have another question.
Uh-oh. This is Janet Langhart Cohen interviewing April Wright. What do you think this is? What was the show? What was your show?
With Julia Bond?
Yes. What was
America's Black Forum.
America's Black Forum. You think this is America's Black Forum? Go ahead, Janet Langhart Cohen. Come on.
I'm just listening to you and Bill talking. The question you asked is instead. The question I have is of the American people, specifically of the white American people who claim to be patriotic. And some of them get three flags. They get the American flag, the Confederate flag, and down in Charlottesville they were waving the Nazi flag. But where is their patriotism? Where is their commitment to this country? And you have to ask, are they being patriots? Are they patriotic? Are they being tribal? And being the Browning of America, and they're willing to turn the other way, let the banner, let the flag, oh glory, dip a little bit, because rather than having the country brown or black, they have to give up a little red, white, and blue. And I think that's the trade-off they're doing. So we have to ask them, are they fit? Because we get the president we deserve. And if we get him back in November, I told Bill I'm going to Montreal.
I'm going with you. Find us a house next to you, okay?
But April, you're out there in the world with other journalists. What is the consensus? What do they think the reason is that the veterans didn't speak up? The Congress isn't taking it on.
So you know what? This president has bullied a lot of people into submission, bullied a lot of leaders into submission, and people are afraid of him talking about them in a tweet. People are afraid to lose their constituency because people love him so. He is allegedly for the forgotten man, the person that Barack Obama allegedly did not touch, the person that other government agencies haven't touched, these people who feel like they've lost out. And a lot of this base, the basement of his base is racist. And at the end of the day, people, and you guys will recognize this, people said, okay, I'm going to turn my head on matters of race because I'm going to get other things. But look how bad it's gotten. And we are now dealing with racial reckoning. He's sending people out there to kill people who march. He's supporting democracy, the democratic piece of what is it, the women's suffrage movement. That was democracy. That was protest. But yet he's tear gassing and tanking Black Lives Matter protesters. And I mean, I can't sit in the position that I sit and not call it out. And this is one of the reasons why I call it out. In the Kerner Commission report at the very back, it talked about media being needed at times such as this. Black media needed at the White House, at the Pentagon, at the State Department, at City Hall, because the list of issues that we have, we still are a community with the highest numbers of negatives in every category. So, and that's.
Well, you know what, April? I say this about our people, and Bill's an honorary our people.
Ah!
We have to get a new tool in our arsenal. We can march, we can pray, we can sing, we can turn the other cheek, we can forgive these people. How much have we gotten for all of that?
Mm.
What else has to happen? And we have to think smarter. One of the smart things I think we did, I saw them do in Arizona not too long ago. Boycott. When Rosa Parks sat on that bus and down in Montgomery, they said, we're not going to work, we're not going to get on your bus. Things change. Money talks.
Yes, it does.
No, I saw Trevor Noah. Trevor Noah was on with Doc Rivers, and Doc Rivers brought on Steve Ballmer. He's the owner of the Clippers. And when I saw this powerful white man on with Doc Rivers, but Doc had cried earlier in the day, I said, maybe Doc Rivers can reach him. And Steve was on, Steve Ballmer was on. And I said, great, I told you, Bill, I said, great, something's going to happen now. We've got a powerful, wealthy white man in there. He directed us to go to Congress for the George Floyd bill. Every time we get a bill in Congress, you know what happens to it? What happened to the voting rights? What happened to that? They sent it up to the Supreme Court, and they removed everything we fought for, all the clearances. So our answers are not under that dome anymore.
Right.
They don't even support their Constitution.
And Mrs. Cohen.
That's something else.
And Mrs. Cohen knows what she speaks, because she fought for our rights. She was under the tutelage of Dr. King towards the end of his life. She's done, I mean, you have an amazing legacy, and we're going to get on that in a minute, talking about the play. I'm serious, because everybody says, I love her. I love her. We want you to preach some more.
No. You know what? I'm an angry black woman.
Oh, no, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. You are a black woman with sense. Mm-hmm.
Served in a segregated military. And when I asked him, how can you serve this country, this racist apartheid country? He said, I love this country. And if they ask me, I'll serve her again.
Who said that?
That is my father. That is a testament to black people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the testament to our military. I believe our military, even today, has that same sentiment.
And I'm gonna end this. I'm gonna end this piece with this, and then I'm gonna go to a question. But you know what? I get so angry when I hear people say one group of people are patriotic. We are just as patriotic. We built this nation. We are in the military. I'm like, huh? I'm like, what part do you not get? What part of history do you not understand? Or did you even read it? So I don't know. Yes, the first person to die when?
The Revolutionary War.
Amen. That's right. We shall overcome someday, and we need to keep. No, but you guys are with me. It's so good, and people are loving this, because people need to hear the truth from people who sit in these lofty perches of power and understand this is not what it's supposed to look like. And this is one of the reasons why I'm doing these COVID conversations, because people are not getting it, and they need to get it. But before I go to the play, Secretary Cohen, one last thing. What do you think will be the long-term implications of our alliances with our allies and NATO over the next few years?
I think if President Trump is reelected, they'll fray and eventually become weaker to the point. Think about this. What is Putin's wish list? Undercut the EU, undercut NATO, attack your intelligence community, attack the media and say that it's all fake, attack the judiciary. I mean, you go down the list and finally you attack and undermine the military. Everything that is on Putin's bucket list, we're doing. So I think if we have 4 more years of President Trump, you will not recognize the alliances that we have today. That's one of the reasons that General Mattis resigned. He saw what this president was doing to our alliances. And frankly, I travel the world to this day. I'm all over the world, and only because of COVID am I still at home meeting my wife for the first time. But the people that I talk to at the highest levels, they are astonished. They said, how did this happen? How could this have happened in 3.5 years to where America was in terms of our admiration, respect, and reliance upon? And now we have to call into question what the president says, because he changes, he lies, he is only transactional. What's in it for me? I'll give you this money, Mr. Prime Minister of Ukraine, but you have to give me something in return. How about a little dirt on Joe Biden? Those kinds of things really call into question the legitimacy of what and who we claim to be. We claim to be the good guys, the ones who abide by the rule of law, who don't engage in extortion, who don't tell the governors of the United States, if you're nice to me, I may give you a little more help when it comes to COVID. But that's another, quid pro quo. Be nice, you'll get more. Be critical, you get less. That's not what a president of the United States does or should do. The president's supposed to represent all of us, black, brown, Latino, LGBTQ2,
All the alphabet.
alphabet. But this president is only really interested in talking to white people because his brand of nationalism means white nationalism.
Bill, can I ask you a question?
She's got questions for everyone.
White people at this level. I mean, really, are you surprised that?
Don't talk about all.
I didn't say all.
Yeah.
I said white people.
April, this goes on every night in our household. This is a race woman here.
Yes, she is.
Every night.
Yes, she is.
But no, are you surprised, honey? Are you?
Actually, I'm surprised how many white people are going into the streets, who are joining hands with black people.
No. It was happening. It was happening in civil rights. It was happening at the voting rights marches.
Not in the numbers today.
But that's true.
Not in the numbers
But
today.
April has a point.
Of course,
Right. Because we think of Goodman and
Cheney and Schwerner, yes.
Louisa, I can't remember her last name, but there was a white woman from Minnesota, I believe, who went down. And she got killed.
Yep.
They've been there, but do they stay the course?
Yeah.
I worry about, I'm grateful. I'm with you. I'm grateful to see the white kids in the streets with us, even some of the elder ones.
Yes.
But I wonder about the younger ones. By the time they turn 30, do they become middle class and conservative and, it's not my problem? They stay the course. That's the question we have to
I
ask.
think the young people that I'm looking at and have in our office on interns, I had 15 interns this summer. Some of the brightest, most idealistic, committed people that you could ever ask for. Some were black, some were Asian, some were Latino, and many were white. And they all are really concerned about where this country is going. So I am not as concerned as Janet, perhaps. I think when you see this many white people out there willing to demonstrate and be gassed.
Okay, are you surprised at that? Are you
I
surprised?
am pleased.
I love it. But this is good conversation. This important conversation. And with that, because we have to get this play. And Janet Langhart Cohen has been fighting the good fight for the people. Secretary Cohen, you all right? You good? Is he good? She's been fighting the good fight for the people for a long time, and she's been with many civil rights leaders. She's in civil rights, in television, journalism, all of that. And she's married to Secretary Cohen, but she's also a woman who has a mind to educate, and she wants to educate people on Emmett Till and Anne Frank. How would this meeting look? She's doing a play. Talk to me about this amazing play, and where can we see it? And why did you do it?
Thank you very much. for your patience with us tonight and for inviting us on and for mentioning the play. The name of the play is Anne and Emmett.
Anne and Emmett. Secretary Cohen, give her the receiver because it's feeding back. Yeah.
The name of, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. Great.
The name of the play is Anne and Emmett. It's an imaginary conversation between Anne Frank and Emmett Till. Emmett Till is our Anne Frank. And I was at a luncheon here. I never started out to become a playwright. And I was at a luncheon here during the time Bill was Secretary of Defense, and I was writing my book, From Rage to Reason, My Life in Two Americas. And at the luncheon, one of my white friends said to me, "What do you mean by the title of your book, From Rage to Reason, Two Americas?" And I said, well, the America I grew up in, apartheid America, and the America of now, of promise. And she said, well, I don't know what you mean by apartheid America. I said, well, I grew up in a segregated, deprived environment because of my race. And she said, oh, Janet, you're successful. You're married to Bill Cohen, the Secretary of Defense. You don't want to bring all that up again. It would be so unbecoming of you to talk about that. And I thought, my history is unbecoming to me. It should be unbecoming to her. And I know something else about her history, and I know if I had said that to her that she couldn't talk about her history, this would be a different conversation. So I didn't want to be a skunk at the party. So I held my tongue. But when I got back home, I said to Bill, you know, she said it would be unbecoming of me to talk about growing up in apartheid America. We didn't separate America. Her people did. And I said, I wonder, what would Emmett Till have said to Anne Frank and vice versa? And Bill said, okay, he wanted to get me out of his case. Okay, go write something. And I did. I made a list of all the commonalities that Anne Frank and her family had with Emmett Till and his family. And the differences are obvious to everybody. She's Jewish in Europe, died in a concentration camp. He's Black, American, Christian, murdered in Mississippi.
Money, Mississippi.
And it was their parents, her father, finding her diary and having it published, and Emmett's mother allowing the coffin, the lid of his coffin to be open for Jet Magazine to publish that is the reason the world knows about the two of them. But everybody knew about Anne Frank because she was required reading in all of our schools, even our segregated schools. But nobody was talking about Emmett Till. And when I would go to the schools with the play, before the play, I would ask the audience, sometimes only a Black audience, sometimes only a white audience, sometimes an integrated audience. And every time I asked, who of you have heard of Anne Frank? Every hand goes up. And when I asked, who has heard of Emmett Till, only a few hands would go up. And his death changed the course of American history. His death changed the course of American history. So I thought, let's have these two souls meet on the stage, and her voice is her voice in the play because we read her diary. But Emmett didn't have a voice other than the one his mother spoke about in Death of Innocence. But I gave Emmett my voice.
All right.
He and I are the same age and both Black and American. And I thought I could not speak for him, but speak through him.
You gave him voice. You gave him voice. And people see that coffin at the National Museum, the National Museum of African American History and Culture. Yeah. And I grew up seeing that picture in Jet. And that picture is the most god-awful picture. And if you don't know the story of Emmett Till, he was lynched because he was allegedly looking at a white woman. He was in Money, Mississippi for the summer with his family, and they came in and raided the house and got him out and lynched him, put a big fan around his neck to have it stay at the bottom of the water. Yeah. So it is the worst. And he was a beautiful little boy. And it was the worst.
And, you know, in the research for the play, there's 6 degrees of separation. And I think all Black people in this country that have a history of slavery are related to me, because as I was reading The Death of Innocence, I learned that Emmett's mother worked for my cousin, who was a mechanic. She was an aerial, what do you call them, aeronautics? She flew airplanes. And she taught the Tuskegee Airmen how to fix their planes and how to fly. And she couldn't fly because, women couldn't fly. But she had worked, or Emmett's mother had worked for Willoughby Brown, who is my cousin.
Wow.
So it's a small world. And we don't say hanging.
And we have to add something very important that I didn't say. The white woman who said that lied. Let's put the end to that story. This young man is dead. How many Black people are strange fruit hanging from a tree because of a white lie? The white lie.
You have to remember Susan Smith, who drowned her children, and she said a Black man did it.
That's right. And it was no Black man, it was her.
Who killed his pregnant wife and said a Black man did it. So they lie, and we have paid the price for their lies. And somehow or another, we have to get the truth out. I was
putting it out now.
Yeah, but
No, in the past, and Janet will tell you that the police or the sheriffs would say it all happened at the hands of persons unknown. But now we know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
We're watching it in real time, in living color. When you have George Floyd his neck being stepped on and suffocated for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. So we're seeing what has been taking place for hundreds of years in this country. So now we know, and now we're seeing it. So the question is, are we going to do anything about it in terms of trying to bring about a just society? It's very hard for white people to turn away from that when they can see it taking place in front of their eyes, and then have us ignore it and say, well, we're still the city on the hill. And we are, because we are still great, but we have to become decent again. Mm-hmm. We have to become good again. We have to become honorable again. That's what is missing right now.
April, you asked where the play was. There is some good news. 2 white professors asked to have the play come to 2 colleges in Mississippi.
Wow.
I thought when I wrote the play and I saw the audience reaction to it, I said, well, I want to go to Broadway. But now I'm so happy that it's in Mississippi, because that's where it needs to be, deep in the heart of Dixie.
So when can we see it? When can we see it?
I don't know, because with COVID, it's very, very hard. But I can tell you where you could have seen it. It was at the Supreme Court. Justice Ginsburg hosted it at the court. It was at
RBG.
Yes. I had Bill Bratton, who's the commissioner of the police in New York City at the time. He invited the play to, I think it was 2,000 cadets, 1,100 cadets to see the play. And I was glad, because it is the police that's been pulling the trigger on our men and children. Mm-hmm. It has been the police that's pulled the trigger. And I thought, let's go to the tip of the spear. Maybe some of these young cadets who had a different kind of police training at home, called home training, about Black people, maybe in seeing this play, they'll get a different point of view or different empathy. And when I wrote the play, I was angry, twice as angry as I am when I talk about what we're talking about now. But I wrote the play when I was angry. But what I discovered, April, was one can fuel that anger into art. And art can say things that speeches can't say. The play can say far more when these characters are humanized and personalized. And I wrote the play for middle school. But when I saw that general audiences could identify with that, I was very pleased. And I'm very proud of the play. And I feel blessed that the universe allowed this play to come through me.
So where in Mississippi? People are asking where in Mississippi.
University of Mississippi. And Curry College.
Okay, guys. So
and people are talking to us as you're on?
yeah, people, yeah, there's yes, there's a stream. People are loving, people are talking, they're thankful for this conversation, and they are loving you too. They said they're married. Look at how Secretary Cohen looks at Mrs. Cohen with so much love. They are loving you too. I'm like, that's what I want when it happens, when it's right.
Wow. But you know what? When we were young people, when we were in our age of reason, it was illegal in this country for us to be married.
Yeah.
It took a Supreme Court decision in 1967, Loving versus Virginia. Otherwise, we would have been illegal.
Well, I'm glad the loving couple has created more love around the nation and their stand. But I thank you. I want to thank you because we've gone over our time. But I'm so honored. I know this has been so great. And Secretary Cohen, I want to thank you for agreeing to do it. And then you brought my favorite person on. And this has just been a love fest of truth and honor.
Without truth, there's no trust. Without trust, there's no country.
Preach. You've been to church. You've been to church.
We love you and all the work you do, April. You do a great job.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I so appreciate both of you. And I want to say this. The reason that I said I had to get you guys on is a friend of mine, formerly retired Lieutenant Colonel Sam Chisholm. He's a dear college classmate of mine. He always calls me about President Trump. He's been on various tours of duty. He was on various tours of duty, and he is very upset about what's happening to the military in this nation. And I said, okay, this one's for you, because I cannot stand when he calls me all the time talking politics. So I said, Sam, this one's for you. So and he's like,
watching? Is he watching?
He was on here a minute ago. He's probably watching. So if you want to say something to Sam.
For your service.
Oh, all right, Sam. So I gave you a shout out, Sam. Well, guys, thank you so much. I so appreciate you. And we're going to get you back on, but we're going to make sure your phone is working.
No, I'm so sorry about that, but thank you for helping us get through.
But where there's a will, there's a way. And I so appreciate you. And I think you're amazing. And thank you for using your voices for good.
And you as well.
Thank you.
Love, April.
Love you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you. Secretary Bill Cohen and his wife, the wonderful, the illustrious Janet Langhart Cohen. I'm so pleased, guys. Bye. And I will see you tomorrow night. I forgot who's going to be on the show tomorrow night. I got to look it up. But either way, we have been blessed tonight. We're going to run this again. You're going to see it again. I'm going to post it on the timeline. And if you want to find Secretary Cohen, I believe he is, I don't know. I think he's William Cohen 24. So follow him on Instagram. Have a good night, guys. I got to go make fried fish for the kids. Night. Good night. Love you. Bye.